Hey guys, tonight we're traveling back to a world dripping in gold and drenched in, well, not water. We're exploring the gilded, fragrant and frankly quite funky halls of pre-revolutionary France to understand a very specific obsession: bathing in orange blossom water. Imagine a time when your personal scent wasn't just a final touch before you left the house, but your primary shield against disease, your most important status symbol, and your main method of cleaning. It was a world of breathtaking luxury, layered directly on top of breathtaking squalor. To be honest, given that your modern nose is accustomed to soap and sanitation, you probably wouldn't survive the olfactory shock of a casual stroll through 17th century Paris. You'd be a historical footnote, died dramatically after sniffing the air near a cheese shop. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's always a huge encouragement. And for a bit of fun, drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are standing in a river of light. Sunlight pours through 17 massive arched windows on your left, striking 17 identical mirrors on your right, shattering into a million dazzling pieces that dance across the vaulted, painted ceilings. This is the Hall of Mirrors in the Palace of Versailles, the heart of the French universe. The parquet floor beneath your heeled shoes gleams with the polish of 1,000 servants' efforts. Gold leaf covers everything that doesn't move, and even some things that do. You see yourself reflected to infinity, a courtier among courtiers, a shimmering figure in silk and lace. It is the absolute pinnacle of opulence, a spectacle designed by a king to awe and intimidate. But there's another sense beyond sight that is being overwhelmed. The air itself is thick. It's a complex, heavy tapestry of smells. You can pick out the scent of beeswax from thousands of candles, the wood smoke from countless fireplaces, the sweet, cloying aroma of wilting flowers in massive vases. But beneath that, there are other, more human layers. The air carries the scent of hundreds of bodies packed closely together, radiating heat and their own personal odors. And over it all, like a desperate, beautiful battle, is the overwhelming scent of perfume. Not a light, fresh spritz, but a dense, suffocating cloud of musk, civet, ambergris, and a dozen competing floral notes. This is your world. And in this world, the most powerful statement you can make has nothing to do with what you say. It has everything to do with how you smell. You see, you live in a world defined by the reign of Louis XIV, the Sun King. He is the one who transformed his father's modest hunting lodge into this sprawling 700-room monument to absolute monarchy. He commanded all the high-ranking nobles of France to leave their own regional castles and live here with him in this gilded cage. Here, life is a constant, exhausting performance. Every nod, every bow, every whisper is scrutinized. Status is a slippery ladder, and you can fall off with one clumsy misstep. The way you prove your worth, your wealth, your proximity to the king is through visible and smellable extravagance. The quality of your lace, the size of the diamond on your finger, and the sheer power of the perfume you wear. A full-body bath with soap and water. That's something a peasant might do in a river, or perhaps a merchant. It's not seen as a marker of luxury, in fact it's viewed with suspicion. But a vial of perfume concentrate? That could cost more than a small farm. To use it lavishly, to perfume your skin, your wig, your clothes, your gloves, even your furniture, that is true wealth. Your scent is your personal brand, the aromatic announcement that precedes you into a room. Think of it like a modern celebrity's walk-on music, but instead of a catchy beat, it's an eye-wateringly expensive blast of jasmine and animal musk. Historians still debate just how overpowering the mixture of exquisite perfume and poor sanitation truly was, but accounts from visitors often mention the overwhelming sensory experience. The palace, for all its splendor, had a severe lack of what we would call bathrooms. Courtiers would often relieve themselves in corridors, courtyards, or behind tapestries. The smell was a constant issue, one that even the most potent perfumes could only mask, not eliminate. This created a strange paradox. You are standing in one of the most magnificent rooms ever built, surrounded by the wealthiest people on the planet, and yet the air is a constant battle between roses and ruin. You watch a duchess pass by, her silk skirts rustling. She doesn't just smell of perfume. The scent seems to be an integral part of her, soaked into the very fabric of her being. You know that her leather gloves, held delicately in one hand, have been stored for weeks in a sealed box filled with potpourri and perfumed powder. This is a common practice, a subtle way to carry fragrance. It's an obscure art, knowing how to layer scents not just on your body, but on your accessories. It's the difference between being merely presentable and being truly fashionable. As you breathe in, you try to pass the competing aromas. Someone nearby smells strongly of ambergris, a waxy substance from the belly of a whale that gives perfume an incredible staying power. Another person radiates the sharp, almost feral scent of civet, a glandular secretion from a cat-like creature. These aren't the clean, synthetic scents of the 21st century. They are raw, earthy, and animalistic, a reminder that for all the powdered wigs and painted beauty spots, this is still a visceral, untamed world. Your own scent, a carefully chosen rose and violet blend, suddenly feels weak, provincial. You make a mental note to visit your perfumer and invest in something stronger, something that speaks of power, not just pleasantness. Because here in Versailles, to be unnoticeable is to be irrelevant. The thought of simply washing the old scent away with soap and water doesn't even cross your mind. Why would it? The very idea feels unnatural, even reckless. Water is for drinking, if it's clean, for fountains in the garden, for laundry done by servants, but for immersing your body. That's a risky proposition. You instinctively touch the skin on the back of your hand. It feels sealed, protected. To submerge yourself in a tub of hot water would be to invite disaster. It's a lesson that has been drilled into you since childhood, a fundamental truth of the world as you understand it. Water makes you vulnerable. This isn't just a personal quirk, it's the prevailing medical wisdom of your time. The greatest physicians in Paris, men who advise the king himself, all agree. The primary danger in the world is not dirt, but miasma, bad air. They teach that disease, from the common cold to the dreaded plague, travels through the air as a foul-smelling invisible vapor. You imagine these miasmas swirling through the streets of Paris, rising from the tanneries and the butcher shops, seeping from the cemeteries. The goal of good health is to keep these malevolent airs out of your body, and a hot bath is the worst thing you could possibly do. The heat and steam are thought to open the pores of your skin, turning your body's natural armor into a sieve. You picture it in your mind, thousands of tiny gateways, wide open, just waiting for a passing miasma to slip inside and wreak havoc on your humors. Your skin, you've been taught, needs to remain a sealed barrier. A fine layer of your body's own oils, mixed with the powders and perfumes you apply, creates a protective coating. It's like putting a protective clear coat on a car, but the car is you, and the clear coat is a mixture of yesterday's funk and very expensive floral essences. To a 21st century mind, a modern spa day with its steam rooms and hot tubs is the peak of luxury. To you, it would look like a death wish. You'd see a brochure for a Scandinavian spa and assume it was a recruitment poster for the afterlife. This deep-seated fear is a long shadow cast by a terrifying past. You've heard the stories from your grandparents, who heard them from their grandparents about the Great Plague. The Black Death may be a memory from centuries ago, but its ghost still haunts the European psyche. It was a time when cities were emptied, when doctors in terrifying beaked masks walked the streets, stuffing their masks with herbs to ward off the deadly air. The plague was the ultimate proof of the miasma theory. It came and went like a phantom, killing indiscriminately, and the only explanation was that it was a poison carried on the wind. The communal bathhouses, or stews as they were called, which had been common in medieval times, were one of the first casualties of this new medical thinking. Historians still debate whether these public bathhouses, which were called étuves in France, were closed more for reasons of public health or public morality. They had, after all, developed a reputation not just for bathing but for all sorts of scandalous behavior. But the end result was the same. By your era, the practice of public, communal bathing was long gone. It was associated with a past that was seen as both medically ignorant and morally suspect. Bathing became a private, infrequent, and often highly suspicious activity. To confess to taking a full hot bath would be like admitting you enjoy playing with fire in a gunpowder warehouse. People would look at you with a mixture of pity and alarm. So when you notice that your expensive rose perfume is being overpowered by the musky scent of a nearby duke, your solution isn't subtraction, it's addition. You need a more powerful perfume to dominate your personal airspace, to create a fragrant shield that declares your status and, in your mind, protects your health. This is why the perfume industry is booming. It's not just catering to vanity. It's providing an essential tool for life in the upper echelons of society. You might receive a physician for a minor ailment, and his prescription won't be bed rest and fluids. It will be a list of scents. Avoid the damp air of the river, he'll say, and procure a pomade of ambergris and lavender to be worn on your person. Scent your rooms with burning juniper. It is a world of preventative aromatherapy. A good, strong perfume is like a personal bodyguard against the invisible enemies lurking in every shadow and alleyway. When you catch a whiff of something unpleasant, the offal from a kitchen, the stench from a nearby stable, you don't just wrinkle your nose, you feel a genuine pang of fear and immediately bring your scented handkerchief or the head of a pomander, a metal ball filled with solid perfume, to your nose, breathing in the protective aroma until the danger has passed. It's a reflex as automatic as blinking. So you stand here in the glorious sun-drenched hall of mirrors, making a silent, calculated decision, not just about fashion, but about survival. The path to health and high society isn't paved with soap, but with the crushed petals of 1,000 flowers. And if you cannot wash, if you cannot scrub away the grime and the odors of the day, what do? You adapt. You invent a whole new way of being clean. You invent a whole new way of being clean. The process begins the moment you wake up. Sunlight, thin and pale, streams into your chilly bedchamber at Versailles. There is no sound of a running bath, no steam warming the air. Instead, a servant enters silently, her arms laden not with towels but with fabric. She carries a stack of the finest snow-white linen. This is the cornerstone of your hygiene. Your first act of washing is to remove the linen chemise or shirt you slept in. The theory you live by is that the porous fibers of the linen have spent the night absorbing the body's humors and impurities, the sweat, the oils, the things that need to be removed. You imagine the fabric acting like a sponge, drawing the grime out of you. The soiled linen is tossed aside for the laundress, and a fresh, crisp, cool shirt is slipped over your skin. The feel of the clean fabric against your body is to you the very essence of being clean. It's a daily baptism by textile. In your world, changing your linen twice a day is far more important and effective than bathing once a week. It's the 17th century equivalent of a long hot shower, but the ritual is far from over. Next comes the toilette sèche, the dry wash. A servant approaches with a basin, but it contains only a small amount of perfumed water, perhaps water infused with vinegar, rose, or rosemary. She dips a rough linen cloth into it, wrings it out until it is barely damp, and begins to rub you down vigorously. This is not a gentle, soothing caress. It's an abrasive, polishing action. The goal is to exfoliate, to remove any surface dirt, and to stimulate the skin, leaving it glowing. It's less of a spa treatment and more like you're a piece of silverware, being polished before being put on display for an important dinner. Your face, neck, hands, and arms are given this brisk treatment until they are pink and tingling. Now comes the powder. A different servant comes forward with a large, fluffy puff made of swan's down and a bowl of fine scented powder. This isn't just a light dusting for your nose. This is a full-body application. You are powdered from head to toe in a fragrant cloud. Forget modern dry shampoo for just your roots. This is the original all-over dry shampoo, deodorant, and skin, smoother rolled into one. The powder, often made from wheat starch or rice flour, absorbs any remaining moisture and oil, prevents chafing from the stiff, heavy clothes you're about to put on, and creates a smooth, matte finish on the skin. If you are particularly wealthy, your powder isn't just starch, it's poudre d'iris, finely milled orris root. It's an incredible luxury, as the iris roots must be aged for 3 to 5 years to develop their signature, violet-like scent. the fragrant dust settles over you, a personal little fragrant fog that serves as the perfect base layer for the liquid perfume to come. This entire private ritual is a miniature, humble version of what is happening at this very moment in the king's own bedchamber. The king's morning routine, the lever, is not a private affair. It's one of the most important state rituals of the day, a public performance attended by a privileged crowd of dukes and courtiers who jostle for the honor of watching the Sun King put on his royal shirt. To be granted the honor of holding his sleeve is a sign of immense favor. Your own toilette is your preparation to be a worthy spectator in the grand theater of the court, which revolves entirely around the king's daily schedule. Even your teeth receive attention, though not with a brush and paste. You take a rough spun cloth, dip it into a gritty powder made from things like crushed bone, chalk or coral, and rub your teeth and gums firmly. The goal is more about abrasion than sanitation. To finish, you swish your mouth with a strong, alcohol-based water, heavily flavored with cloves, cinnamon or mint, which does a reasonable job of masking the smell of your morning coffee. Historians still debate how effective this linen and powder method truly was. While it certainly managed odors to a degree and provided a psychological sense of cleanliness, personal accounts from the era still occasionally mention the potent presence of fellow courtiers, especially by the end of a long summer day of dancing and feasting. The system was better than nothing, but it had its limits. Finally, with your skin buffed, your body powdered, and your clean linen in place, you are ready to be dressed. Layers of silk, brocade, and lace are carefully arranged on your person. The wig, a towering confection of powdered and perfumed hair, is settled onto your head. You are now clean, dressed, and prepared. But the most important layer, the final, powerful statement of your identity, is yet to be applied. You are a pristine canvas, ready for the artist's final touch. And that touch comes from a small glass bottle containing the most potent and expensive liquid in your possession. You are ready for your perfume. You reach for the small, heavy glass bottle on your dressing table. This is the final act of your morning ritual, the one that truly armors you for the day. You apply the perfume not just to your wrists and neck, but to your wig, the inside of your cuffs and the hem of your coat. It's your olfactory signature. But even as you envelop yourself in this carefully chosen cloud, you know that your personal scent is just a quiet note in a grand, overwhelming symphony composed by one man. The reason you are also obsessed with fragrance, the reason this palace is saturated with it, is because he is. Your entire scented world is a reflection of the king. To be in the presence of Louis XIV is to be in the presence of an olfactory force of nature. In his prime, he doesn't just wear perfume, he broadcasts it. His scent enters the room before he does, a potent, uncompromising statement of power. This is by design. He has weaponized fragrance, turning it into another tool of statecraft. His presence is meant to be overwhelming, a reminder that he is not just a man but the divinely appointed ruler of France, the Sun King around whom you all orbit. And his preferred scents are as bold and dominant as his political ambitions. He is not a man for light, subtle florals. His signature notes are the heavyweights of the perfume world, the animalics. Musk, a powerful earthy scent harvested from a gland of the Tibetan musk deer. Civet, that sharp, almost fecal secretion from the African cat, which, when heavily diluted, becomes strangely alluring and incredibly long-lasting. And ambergris, the mysterious waxy substance from the intestine of a sperm whale, which smells of the sea and sweet earth, and has the almost magical ability to fix other scents, making them last for days. These are not clean, polite smells. They are primal, expensive, and they demand attention. They are the smell of power. His obsession is legendary and sets the pace for everyone at court. You've heard the stories from the older courtiers about his demands on his royal perfumer. It was said that the king required a different, unique perfume for every single day of the week. This wasn't a suggestion, it was a royal command. Imagine the pressure, creating 7 distinct, complex, and powerful new fragrances every single week, fit for a king who believed he was the center of the universe. It's like a modern celebrity demanding a completely new, custom-designed couture outfit for every single public appearance. The perfumer's laboratory must have been a whirlwind of frantic creation, and the king's passion for scent wasn't limited to his own body. He wanted his entire world marinated in it. You know that on special occasions, he has commanded his servants to perfume the great fountains in the gardens of Versailles. Think about that for a moment. Instead of water, the grand fountains shoot jets of fragrant orange flower water or rose water into the air, misting the assembled crowds of nobles with perfume. It's a spectacle of such absurd extravagance that it borders on the surreal. Imagine visiting the Bellagio fountains in Las Vegas and having them blast out clouds of Creed Aventus. It's that level of extra. The royal apartments are constantly sprayed, the linens and tapestries are rinsed in scented waters, and bowls of fresh petals and potpourri are everywhere, fighting a valiant, floral battle against the other, less pleasant ambient smells of the palace. This entire performance of scent is intrinsically linked to his grand political project, Versailles itself. By forcing the nobility to live here under his watchful eye, he neutered their power. Life became a competition for his favor, played out in rituals of fashion and etiquette. Drenching the court in expensive fragrances was just another way to reinforce the system. To participate, you had to spend a fortune on perfumes proving your loyalty and good taste. It was a fragrant arms race, and the only winner was the man who set the rules. But here is the great central irony of this story. After decades of living in this self-created fragrant fog, the king's body rebelled. Later in his long reign, he develops a crushing sensitivity to the very scents he championed. The potent perfumes that once signified his power now trigger debilitating migraines and violent headaches. The man who drenched his kingdom in musk and civet can no longer stand to be in the same room with them. It's the ultimate ironic twist, like a rock star going deaf from his own amplifiers. Historians still debate the exact cause of the king's later-in-life sensitivity. Was it a true allergy developed through decades of constant overwhelming exposure, or were the debilitating migraines he suffered simply a symptom of another underlying illness? Whatever the reason, the effect was dramatic. He banishes heavy perfumes from his presence. Courtiers who wish to be near him have to scrub themselves of their expensive animalic scents. The entire olfactory landscape of the court begins to shift. And in the void left by the banished musks and civets, the king finds there is one and only one fragrance he can still tolerate. It is the light, clean, ethereal scent of a single delicate white flower, the orange blossom. And so with the king's declaration, the olfactory landscape of Versailles changes completely. It's as if a window has been thrown open in a stuffy, overcrowded room. The heavy, suffocating clouds of musk, ambergris, and civet that once saturated. The brocade curtains and woolen coats begin to dissipate. A courtier arriving reeking of a strong animalic perfume is now seen not as powerful, but as boorish and inconsiderate of the king's delicate health. To wear the old scents is to risk royal displeasure, the social equivalent of a death sentence. In their place, a new fragrance begins to rise from every rustling skirt and waving fan. It is the clean, bright, yet complex scent of a single tree. The bitter orange. You find yourself like every other ambitious person at court scrambling to procure it. You learn that this scent comes not from the fruit, but from the delicate, waxy white blossoms of the bitter orange tree, a species that thrives in the sun-drenched groves of Italy and the south of France. To capture its essence is an art form. The blossoms must be harvested by hand at dawn, just as they open, before the sun can bake away their precious oils. It is a painstaking, delicate process. You hear that it takes more than 2,000 pounds of these hand-picked blossoms to produce a single pound of the essential oil through steam distillation. This incredible inefficiency, of course, only adds to its allure. It is liquid sunlight, a captured spring morning, and its price reflects that. It makes the finest wine look like a bargain bin commodity. The resulting scent is unlike anything that came before. It is not the simple, sweet smell of an orange. It is far more complex. A fragrance of beautiful contradictions. There's a honeyed floral sweetness, yes, but it's cut through with a green, almost sharp bitterness and a faint metallic tang. It is at once innocent and sophisticated, clean, but with a surprising depth. It is the scent of revolution, a move away from the heavy, dirty perfumes of the past towards something that signifies purity, clarity, and a new kind of refined taste. This scent has a name, one that you hear whispered with an air of fashionable reverence. Neroli. And there is a story behind that name. You learn that it comes from an Italian noblewoman, Anne Marie Orsini, the Duchess of Bracciano, but she is more famously known by another of her titles, the Princess of Nerola. In the latter part of the 17th century, she fell completely in love with the essence of bitter orange blossom. She wasn't the first to use it, but she used it with the passion of a true devotee. She famously perfumed her gloves with the oil, creating a signature scent that would transfer to her hands. More extravagantly, she added it to her bathwater, scenting her entire being with it. She was, in modern terms, the original beauty influencer. Her devotion was so well known among the aristocracy of Europe that the scent itself became synonymous with her title. The essence of bitter orange blossom became simply Neroli. Historians still debate whether the Princess of Nerola was truly the first to popularize the scent, or if she was simply the most famous advocate in a trend that was already bubbling up. Regardless, her name is forever linked to the precious oil, a testament to the power of a single high-profile user even in the 17th century. Her influence is part of a longer story of Italian taste-shaping French culture. You only have to look back to the previous century, to Queen Catherine de' Medici, who brought her own Italian perfumers, chefs and artisans to the French court, sparking a renaissance of luxury. This love for Neroli is just the latest chapter in France's long-running love affair with Italian style. And now this fashionable Italian scent has become a medical necessity for the most powerful man in the world. So you adapt. The vinegar water your servant once used for your morning rub-down is replaced by a far more expensive orange flower water, the hydrosol byproduct of the distillation process. Your body powder is now scented with neroli. The heavy pomanders are put away, replaced by a single drop of the precious oil on a handkerchief. The shift is seismic. It's the equivalent of every radio station in the world suddenly banning bombastic rock anthems and agreeing to play only quiet, minimalist ambient music. The olfactory whiplash must be intense for the older generation, but for you, it is simply the new reality. To smell of neroli is to smell of health, wealth, and proximity to the king. It is the only scent that matters. Your old supply of perfume is now useless, a collection of heavy, unfashionable scents that mark you as yesterday's news. To continue to thrive at court, you must acquire the new olfactory uniform, neroli. This is not something you can buy from a simple merchant. You must seek out an artist, a master craftsman, whose family has likely been dealing in secrets and scents for generations. You must leave the shimmering bubble of Versailles for a day and travel into the heart of Paris, to the street where the city's finest artisans ply their trade. You must visit a perfumer. The journey itself is a sensory assault, a reminder of why you all wear perfume in the first place. As you get closer to the city center, the air grows thick with the smells of life. Baking bread, roasting meat, raw sewage, horse manure, and the 1,000 other odors of a bustling metropolis. It's a potent, miasmic stew. But then, you turn onto a particular street, and the air begins to change. A hint of lavender, a ghost of rose, a whisper of spice cuts through the muck. You have arrived. The perfumer's shop is not the bright, airy glass and chrome boutique you might imagine. Today, you enter a dimly lit space that feels more like an alchemist's laboratory or a high-end apothecary. The walls are lined with dark wood shelves, crowded with hundreds of glass bottles and earthenware jars, some clear, some dark blue, each holding a precious liquid or a mysterious powder. A set of delicate brass scales sits on a marble countertop, next to mortars and pestles of wood and stone. The air inside is a bewildering but not unpleasant symphony of 100 different scents, all layered on top of one another. It's the smell of possibilities. The man who greets you is not a mere shopkeeper. He is a master of his craft, a member of one of the most powerful and exclusive guilds in Paris. His official title isn't just parfumeur, it is maître gantier parfumeur, a master glover perfumer. This dual title holds the secret to the origin of his entire profession. You know that the two trades are historically inseparable. The process of tanning leather in your era is a foul-smelling business, using nasty materials that leave the finished product with a rank animal odor. No person of quality would wear such a thing. So the glovers became perfumers out of necessity. Their original job was basically to make a dead animal skin not smell like a dead animal skin. It's perhaps the world's most glamorous and successful cover-up job. They developed incredible skill in using potent essences, musk, jasmine, ambergris, to transform a foul-smelling object into an exquisite luxury item. Selling liquid perfume was just a natural extension of their primary craft. The perfumer listens patiently as you explain your needs. You, like everyone else from the court this week, need orange blossom. You need the pure neroli oil. You need the orange flower water for your toilette. And you need a new body powder scented with it. He nods, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. He has likely spent the last decade perfecting heavy animalic compositions for his clients, and now he must pivot his entire inventory to the light, floral demands dictated by the king's migraines. Moves to his perfume organ, a tiered, semicircular desk with shelves holding small bottles of essences, all within arm's reach. This is his instrument. He is the master mixologist, and this is his bar. He explains that creating a good perfume is not just about one note. Even your neroli-based scent needs structure. He might add a hint of bergamot, another citrus, to give it a brighter opening. He might add a touch of jasmine to enrich the floral heart. He speaks a language you don't fully understand, of top notes that fade quickly, heart notes that form the character, and base notes that anchor the scent for hours. Historians still debate the exact formulas of these famous 17th century perfumes, as masters guarded their recipes like state secrets. While ingredient lists sometimes survive in the household account books of the wealthy, the precise proportions, the touch of genius that turns a list of flowers into a legendary scent, are mostly lost to time. Asking this man for his recipe would be more offensive than asking for his purse. These secrets are his livelihood, passed down from his master, to be one day passed to his own apprentice after years of grueling work. He tells you of the provenance of his ingredients, a sign of his quality. The rose absolute from Bulgaria, the sandalwood from India, the vanilla from the New World, and the neroli, he assures you, is from the finest bitter orange groves in southern Spain, distilled just last spring. He is the end point of a global supply chain, a quiet commander of a network that brings the world's most beautiful smells to this small, dark shop in Paris. Finally, after much careful measuring and mixing, your products are ready. They are decanted into exquisite glass vials and porcelain pots, wrapped carefully, and presented with a bill that makes your eyes water, but you pay it without flinching. This is the price of admission to the highest circles of power. You leave the shop, your valet carrying the precious cargo, and step back out into the cacophony of Paris. But now you are armed. You have your fragrant shield. You are ready to return to Versailles, smelling not just pleasant but correct. Armed with your new ruinously expensive orange blossom supplies, your morning routine takes on a new significance. Yesterday, it was a private act of preparation. Today, it is rehearsal for a public performance, because at Versailles, you don't just get ready for the day. You are seen getting ready. You are about to attend the toilette of a high-ranking duchess, an invitation that is both an honor and a test. You must see and be seen, and your own faint but correct scent of neroli is your entry ticket to the show. You enter the duchess's bedchamber, and any modern notion of privacy instantly evaporates. The room is crowded with a dozen other women of the court, a chattering, rustling audience of friends who are also her fiercest rivals. The grand canopied bed is more of a throne, and the dressing table is a stage, glittering with silver-backed brushes, crystal jars, and porcelain, parts all arranged for maximum effect. This is not a bedroom. It is a reception hall and a theater. You quickly find your place in the room, a position that is an unspoken map of your social standing. The ceremony is governed by a strict system of access. The most privileged few, the petites entrées, are allowed into the inner sanctum while the duchess is still in her bed, propped against a mountain of pillows, taking her morning broth and exchanging the day's first, most valuable pieces of gossip. To be granted the petite entree is like being in the VIP section of the VIP section. You are so important that you get to see the aristocrat before she has fully composed her public face. As she finally rises and moves to her dressing table, the doors are opened to the next tier of guests, the grands entrees. This is your group. You are close enough to be noticed, but not so close as to be an intimate. It's a delicate position. You watch, your senses on high alert as the performance begins. Her routine is a theatrical version of the one you conducted in private. Her chemise is changed, not with quiet efficiency, but with a certain flourish, from her lady's maid. Her washing cloth is dipped with great ceremony into a silver basin, and you smell it instantly, the clear, bright scent of orange flower water. The maid holds the bottle for a moment longer than necessary, allowing the light to catch the glass, ensuring everyone sees that it is of the highest quality. The Duchess might murmur something about how the scent is a relief after all those years of heavy musks, a direct nod to the King's new preference. Everyone murmurs in agreement. To do otherwise would be unthinkable. This entire ritual is the 17th century equivalent of a Get Ready With Me live stream, but instead of anonymous comments, you have a live, hypercritical studio audience just feet away. It's like having your entire high school class watch you put on deodorant, except the deodorant costs a month's salary, and the class president might socially execute you if she disapproves of your choice. The application of the neroli oil itself is the climax of the olfactory part of the show. A single precious drop is applied to her skin, and the scent blooms in the warm room. You inhale deeply, as does everyone else. It is your duty as a spectator to notice and to compliment. "Your Grace, that neroli is simply divine," one woman says. "So much purer than the one the Countess of Artois was wearing yesterday." It's a compliment and a dagger in one, the standard currency of conversation here. With the scent established, the next act begins, the application of her face. A maid brings forward a pot of white paste. This is Blanc de Cérus, a foundation made from white lead and vinegar. It gives the skin the fashionable porcelain white pallor that signifies you never have to toil in the sun. It is, of course, also a slow-acting poison that will ruin the skin over time. But that is a problem for the future. The present demands a pale face. Then comes the rouge, applied in perfect bright circles high on the cheeks, a stark contrast to the white foundation. Finally, the mouche, the beauty patches. A small black velvet patch is carefully applied near her eye. These are not just fur-covering blemishes. They are a complex system of signals. Historians still debate the true meanings attributed to the placement of mouches. Was a patch by the lip really an invitation for a kiss, or one on the cheek a sign of flirtatiousness? Or was this just a playful fad, with meanings that shifted as quickly as fashion itself, like modern emojis whose connotations can change overnight? Whatever their precise meaning, they are a crucial part of the daily armor. At last, the wig is placed, the jewels are fastened, and the Duchess stands. She is no longer a person but an artifact, a perfectly constructed work of art, from her powdered hair to her scented skin. The toilette is complete. The audience offers its final murmurs of approval. The performance is over. Now, the real business of the day can begin, with everyone properly masked, painted, and perfumed for the battles of etiquette and influence that lie ahead. The Duchess's toilette is over, and you step out from her chambers into the grand sunlit galleries of the palace. All around you are the finished masterpieces, the walking, talking works of art that populate the court of the Sun King. The air hums with whispered conversations and the rustle of silk, all of it overlaid with the now ubiquitous clean scent of orange blossom. It is a scene of immense beauty and refinement, but as you look closer, past the glittering jewels and powdered wigs, you realize that this beauty is a dangerous illusion, one that is painted on with poison. Your gaze falls on an older countess, whose smile seems stiff and unnatural. Her face is a perfect, smooth white mask, but around her hairline and on her neck, you can see the faint signs of irritated, damaged skin. She is a devoted user of Blanc de Cérus, or Venetian Cérus, the very same lead-based foundation you saw being applied to the Duchess. It's the absolute height of cosmetic technology, a thick paste of white lead powder mixed with vinegar and water. When applied, it does a miraculous job of covering blemishes, smallpox scars, and wrinkles, creating a uniform porcelain complexion that is the envy of all. But you know the price of this perfection. Lead is a poison, and day after day, year after year, it seeps into the skin. You've seen its long-term effects on the older generation of court ladies: hair loss, blackened teeth, and a withering of the skin that, ironically, requires ever thicker layers of the lead paste to conceal. It's a vicious, toxic cycle. The very substance used to create the illusion of youthful beauty is what relentlessly destroys it, and the user's health along with it. Your daily beauty routine, if you choose to partake, involves more heavy metals than a naval shipyard, and it doesn't stop with lead. The fashionable flush of rouge, those perfect circles of vibrant red on the cheeks, is often made with vermilion, a pigment derived from grinding the mineral cinnabar. Cinnabar is mercury, sulfide. So after applying a layer of lead to your entire face, you then cheerfully dab a dose of mercury onto your cheeks. The effect is striking, but you are quite literally painting your face with poison. Then you notice the eyes. A young baroness turns to you, and her eyes seem unnaturally large and dark, her pupils wide and luminous even in the bright gallery. She looks captivating, doe-eyed, almost startled. This is not a natural feature, it is the effect of belladonna. Women use eye drops made from the Atropa belladonna plant to achieve this look. The name itself, you know, is Italian for beautiful, woman, a testament to the power of this cosmetic trick. The atropine in the plant forces the pupils to dilate, creating that wide-eyed gaze. The cost? Your vision is blurred, you can't focus on anything up close, and prolonged use can lead to permanent blindness. You are choosing to see the world as a blurry, unfocused mess because it makes you look more appealing to the other blurry, unfocused people looking back at you. It's a strangely perfect metaphor for life at court. Historians still debate how widespread the knowledge of these dangers truly was. While some physicians and writers issued warnings against the harshest preparations, their advice was often dismissed as alarmist or unproven. It's much like modern-day warnings about unverified wellness fads are sometimes ignored in the pursuit of a quick fix or a desired aesthetic. The connection between your face powder and the rotting of your gums 10 years later was simply not a connection that most people were equipped to make. Sickness came from God, or from a chill, or from a bad smell, a miasma. It didn't come from a pretty little porcelain pot on your dressing table. These extreme measures were born of desperation. In a world without modern dermatology or antibiotics, a single bout of smallpox could leave your face scarred for life, a significant social handicap. So you might turn to even more terrifying remedies, like skin peels made with mercury sublimate, to burn off the top layer of your skin, freckles and all. The pain was excruciating. The risk of death from mercury poisoning was high, but for some, the promise of a smooth canvas for their lead paint was worth it, and scent, as always, is intertwined with this deception. These toxic concoctions often had their own unpleasant chemical smells. The lead, the vinegar, the mercury, they did not smell of beauty. So perfumers were tasked with masking the odor of the poison. They would add precious rose oil, jasmine, or increasingly, neroli to the deadly pastes and powders. The beautiful fragrance became the final layer of illusion, a pleasant veil drawn over a foundation of decay. It was the ultimate partnership. Beauty and fragrance working together to create a dazzling and deadly work of art. The years pass. The Sun King, who in his final headache-ridden years could tolerate nothing but the scent of orange blossoms, is gone. The rigid, solemn formality of his late reign has dissolved like mist. A new energy now fills the gilded halls of Versailles, a mood that is lighter, more frivolous, and even more devoted to the pursuit of pleasure and luxury. The king's great-grandson, Louis XV, now sits on the throne. The court you now inhabit is younger, more intimate, and utterly obsessed with novelty. And this obsession finds its ultimate expression in scent. This is the era that history will remember as La Cour Parfumée, the perfumed court. Under Louis XIV, perfume was a tool of power and personal prestige. Under Louis XIV, It becomes an atmosphere, an environment, a complete sensory immersion. The new king, taking a cue from his predecessor's old habits but stripping it of its solemnity, revives the demand for a different scent every day. But he expands the command. It is not just his personal perfume, but the fragrance of his private apartments that must be changed daily. The air itself is subject to the whims of fashion. One day the royal chambers might smell of roses and violets, the next of verbena and lime. It's like living inside a kaleidoscope of smells, and the servants responsible for scenting the rooms are in a state of constant fragrant activity. The center of this swirling rococo world of taste is not the king himself, who is more interested in hunting and his private life, but his official chief mistress, Jeanne-Antoinette Poisson, the Marquise de Pompadour. A commoner by birth, her intelligence, charm, and artistic sensibility captivate the king, and for 20 years, she is the unelected Queen of France. She is the nation's foremost arbiter of style. Her taste dictates everything from art and architecture to interior design and, of course, perfume. Madame de Pompadour doesn't just wear perfume, she inhabits it. She is said to have spent a fortune on fragrances, commissioning exclusive scents and using them with an extravagance that even the court finds shocking. Her annual bill for perfume alone could have funded a small military regiment. She favors rich floral bouquets, complex and romantic, and her patronage elevates the perfumers of Paris to new heights of artistry and wealth. Historians still debate the true nature of the relationship between Louis XV and Madame de Pompadour. Was she primarily a lover, a trusted political advisor, a platonic best friend, or all of the above? What is certain is that for 2 decades, she was the most powerful woman in France and the driving force behind the nation's artistic and stylistic trends. Her preferences become your preferences. Her favorite perfumer becomes your favorite perfumer. Under her influence, the use of fragrance reaches a theatrical, almost surreal peak. It's not enough to perfume your body, your clothes, and your wig. You must now perfume your furniture, your stationery, even the rosary beads you carry to the chapel. At the lavish parties and intimate suppers she hosts, scent is part of the entertainment. You might be seated for dinner and notice a delightful, fresh scent wafting through the air. You look up and see the source. Servants in the rafters are releasing live doves that have been doused in perfume. The birds fluttering over the heads of the guests become living diffusers, their beating wings dispersing a delicate mist of fragrance throughout the room. It is the most extra air freshener in history. Forget a modern reed diffuser. The height of luxury is a flock of perfume-bombed birds. This escalating demand puts immense pressure on you as a courtier. You can no longer have a single signature scent. That is now considered boring and unimaginative. True sophistication requires a wardrobe of fragrances. You need a light, citrusy scent for the morning, a more complex floral for the afternoon promenade, and a richer, more seductive blend, with hints of amber or jasmine for the evening's card games and balls. Keeping up is an exhausting and ruinously expensive endeavor. Your dressing table begins to look more and more like the perfumer's organ you saw in Paris, crowded with little bottles for every occasion. You are living in the absolute zenith of this scented world. The poisons of the last generation are still in use. The Lead Foundation and Mercury Rouge are still considered essential, but they are now masked by ever more complex and beautiful fragrances. It is a world dedicated to artifice, where every surface is painted, every body is powdered, and every breath is perfumed. The demand for flowers, spices, citrus, and musk is insatiable. The perfumers of Paris are working at a frantic pace to keep up with the court's bottomless appetite for novelty. But where do they get it all? Where does this endless river of rose, jasmine, and neroli actually come from? The source lies far to the south, in a small, sun-drenched town overlooking the Mediterranean. You sit at your dressing table, the morning light catching the faceted glass of a new perfume bottle. It's a complex floral bouquet, the current fashion at the court of Louis XV. You dab it on your wrist, and the scent blooms, rose, jasmine, and a hint of something green and vibrant. It feels like magic, a scent that was simply born in that bottle in a chic Parisian shop. But you know it is not magic. It is agriculture, chemistry, labor, and a long, slow journey. As the scent settles on your skin, you close your eyes and let your mind trace it back to its source, to the great sun-drenched garden of France, the small town of Grasse. In your imagination, you leave the gilded, overwrought splendor of Versailles and travel south. The air changes. The damp chill of the north gives way to the warm, dry air of Provence. And as you approach the hillsides overlooking the Mediterranean, you begin to smell it. It's not the chaotic mix of perfume and filth you find in Paris. It's the air itself, thick with the scent of flowers. Depending on the season, it could be the honeyed, almost overripe sweetness of jasmine, the lush, jammy scent of the May rose, or the sharp, clean fragrance of lavender. This is Grasse, the perfume capital of the world. But it wasn't always this way. You've heard the story, a fascinating piece of industrial evolution. Grasse's original trade was not flowers, but leather. The town was full of tanneries, and the nearby river ran foul with the stinking chemicals and animal waste from the tanning process. The gloves they produced were fine, but they smelled terrible. So, drawing on the local abundance of wildflowers, the tanners of Grasse began to develop their own perfumes to scent their leather goods. They planted fields of jasmine, lavender, and roses to mask the stench of their primary industry. Then a brilliant pivot happened. The climate of Grasse, with its warm days, cool nights, and plentiful water, turned out to be absolutely perfect for growing fragrant flowers of the highest quality. The perfumed gloves became famous, but soon, the perfumes themselves became even more valuable. They discovered they could make far more money selling the scents than the gloves they were meant to treat. It was a fragrant revolution. It's like a gritty factory town realizing people are more interested in the artisanal coffee shop that opened next door, and eventually, the whole town just starts making coffee. Historians still debate the exact moment when Grasse's identity tipped from being a leather town that used perfume to a perfume town that once made leather. Was it a gradual evolution over decades? Or was there a specific boom, perhaps driven by Catherine de Medici's love for scented gloves a century earlier, that sealed its fragrant destiny? Whatever the trigger, the result is the landscape. You now picture in your mind terraced hillsides covered in fragrant crops. You imagine the harvest. You see fields of the May rose, a specific variety of cabbage rose, whose petals are so numerous and fragrant they look like pink clouds. For a few short weeks in May, women move through the fields at dawn, their fingers flying as they pluck the blossoms and drop them into wicker baskets, racing against the sun which would steal their scent. You see the jasmine harvest in late summer, another pre-dawn ritual, as jasmine flowers picked in the heat of the day are practically useless. Once harvested, the transformation begins. For flowers like lavender or the bitter orange blossom, the process is distillation in great copper stills, using steam to release the essential oils. But for the most delicate flowers, like jasmine or tuberose, heat would destroy them. For these, the artisans of Grasse use a painstaking silent process called enfleurage. You picture a workshop. Large glass plates are coated in a layer of purified, odorless animal fat. The freshly picked flowers are carefully laid one by one onto the fat. The fat acts like a sponge, slowly, over 24 hours, absorbing the flowers' essential oils. The next day, the spent flowers are removed by hand, and a fresh batch is laid down. This process is repeated for days, even weeks, until the fat, now called a pomade, is completely saturated with the fragrance. It's basically convincing a slab of lard to suck the soul out of a flower. It sounds bizarre, but it is the highest of high-tech for your time. This pomade, along with vials of distilled oils, is the precious cargo. It is carefully packed into terracotta jars, sealed with wax, and loaded onto sturdy, slow-moving carts. Then begins the long journey north. For weeks, the carts trundle over the rough, often dangerous roads of France, carrying the essence of a Provençal summer to the waiting perfumers of Paris. That tiny, elegant bottle on your dressing table has had a rougher and longer journey than most of the people at court. You open your eyes. The scent on your wrist is the same, but your understanding of it is different. It's not magic. It's the product of sun, soil, and immense labor. the humble agricultural reality that underpins the entire glittering aristocratic fantasy you live in every day. Your newfound appreciation for the journey of a jasmine flower makes you think. You are standing near a tall window in one of Versailles' long, silent galleries, looking out over the geometric perfection of the gardens. The air around you is a soft cloud of your own expensive perfume. Beyond the sculpted hedges and Grand Canal, you can see the distant, hazy smoke rising from the rooftops of the town. You live your entire life inside this bubble of carefully curated scent, this fragrant fortress. But what does the world smell like for those on the outside? What is the scent of the common folk? You try to imagine the life of a farmer who works the land of a great estate, or a craftsman in a crowded Parisian slum. Their sensory world is entirely different. The dominant smell is not neroli or rose, but the smell of work itself. It is the earthy scent of turned soil, the animal smell of the stables, the sharp tang of wood smoke that clings to everything, the slightly sour smell of damp wool, and the ever-present aroma of human sweat. It's the smell of burning charcoal, baking bread and simmering cabbage. It's a world of raw, unfiltered, functional smells. Their hygiene, you realize, is a matter of rough practicality, not perfumed ritual. They don't have stacks of fine, white linen to absorb the body's impurities. Their shifts and shirts are made of coarse, scratchy linen or heavy wool, garments meant for durability, not comfort. A change of clothes is a weekly event, not a daily one. Soap, for them, is a luxury item, subject to taxes, used sparingly for the most stubborn laundry, not for the body. Bathing is a quick functional splash of cold water from a well or a dip in a nearby river, which is often the same place the town's waste is dumped. There is no dry clean with scented powders here. There is only work, weariness, and water when you can get it. This vast difference is the very foundation of the world you live in, the structure of the Ancien Régime. You belong to the second estate, the nobility. You pay few taxes, you have immense privileges, and your life is a performance of leisure. The clergy form the first estate. And everyone else, more than 95% of the population, from the richest merchant to the poorest peasant, is lumped into the third estate. Their labor is what funds your perfume, your powdered wigs, and the very palace you stand in. For the price of one of your smaller bottles of neroli oil, a farmer's family could likely eat for an entire year. The gap between the scented and the unscented is the truest and most profound measure of wealth. But they too live in fear of miasma. They too believe that bad smells carry disease. So what is their shield? If they cannot afford a perfumed pomander, what do they hold to their nose when they pass a stinking gutter? They have their own, more pungent solutions. You have heard of a concoction known as the vinegar of the four thieves. The legend is famous among the common people. During a great plague, a group of 4 thieves was arrested for robbing the homes of the dead and dying. The magistrate was stunned that they had never contracted the disease. In exchange for a lighter sentence, they revealed their secret: potent brew of vinegar infused with garlic and herbs like rosemary, sage, and clove. They would douse their handkerchiefs and masks in it before entering a sick room. This is the perfume of the people. Not a scent of luxury and seduction, but a raw, medicinal, almost aggressive smell designed for pure survival. It's the 18th century equivalent of dousing yourself in industrial-strength antiseptic. It might keep the plague away, but it will definitely keep everyone else away too. Historians still debate the true efficacy of remedies like the vinegar of the 4 thieves. Was its perceived power due to the actual antiseptic properties of vinegar and herbs, or was it simply a powerful placebo, a psychological shield born of desperation in a world without germ theory? For the people who used it, the question was irrelevant. It was a tool, a hope, and a weapon against the invisible dangers of the air. So while you worry about whether your jasmine clashes with a duchess's tuberose, a baker in Paris worries about the smell of the sewer backing up into his shop. While you attend a public toilette, he is just hoping his children don't catch whatever fever is sweeping through their tenement building. You live in parallel worlds, separated by an unbridgeable chasm of wealth and privilege. You are a painted, powdered, perfumed creature of artifice. They are real in a way you could never be. And as you stand at your window, breathing in the scent of your own luxury, you get the faintest, most unsettling feeling that the raw, pungent, angry smell of their world is growing stronger, and one day it might just be strong enough to break through the gates of Versailles itself. That unsettling feeling you had standing at the window lingers for years. The perfumed court of Louis XV eventually fades, its master gone, dead from the dreaded smallpox, a disease no amount of perfume could ward off. A new king, his grandson, the well-meaning but painfully indecisive Louis XVI, now sits on the throne. And beside him is his young, vivacious and tragically misunderstood Austrian queen, Marie Antoinette. As you watch her hold court, you, now an older, more seasoned observer of this world, realize that with this new queen has come a new scent, a new aesthetic, and a new, dangerous kind of fantasy. The heavy, powdered Rococo artificiality of Madame de Pompadour's era is swept away. Marie Antoinette champions a revolutionary new style, one she calls natural. The stiff, wide pannier skirts are replaced with soft, flowing muslin dresses. The towering, complex wigs give way to simpler, often unpowdered hairstyles, adorned with fresh flowers or straw hats. It is a breath of fresh air, a stylistic rebellion against the rigid formality of the old court. And the Queen's taste in perfume follows suit. She despises the lingering, heavy animalic scents and finds the complex bouquets of the previous court to be stifling. She is a purist, a lover of clear, singular floral notes that remind her of a garden. Her signature scents are the ones you have come to know, but refined and simplified. The pure essence of rose, the delicate fragrance of violet, the heady sweetness of tuberose, and of course, the clean, bright scent of orange blossom. Her personal perfumer, a master named Jean-Louis Flagon, becomes a close confidant tasked with capturing the essence of her natural ideal in a bottle. He creates her signature scent, a composition history will remember as the Ciliege de la Reine, or the Queen's Wake. It is a luminous blend of her favorite flowers, designed to smell not like a perfume, but like the Queen herself has just walked through a dew-kissed garden. To truly live out this fantasy, the Queen retreats from the oppressive formality of the main palace. She finds her sanctuary at the Petit Trianon, a smaller, elegant chateau on the grounds of Versailles, where she can escape the endless rituals. And it is here that she builds the ultimate expression of her natural ideal. The Hameau de la Reine, the Queen's Hamlet. It is a fantasy peasant village, a fully constructed, picturesque hamlet with a farmhouse, a dairy, a mill, and a pond. It is a movie set brought to life. Here, the Queen and her closest friends engage in a performance of simplicity. They put away their silks and diamonds and dress in what they imagine to be peasant clothes, simple though exquisitely made by the finest dressmakers, muslin dresses and straw hats. They carry shepherd's crooks and pretend to be milkmaids. You hear stories of the dairy, where the Queen would milk cows that had been scrubbed clean by servants, collecting the milk in buckets made of pristine, fragrant porcelain. It's like a modern billionaire building a tiny house village on their sprawling estate, and occasionally cosplaying as a minimalist farmer. Historians still debate the Queen's true motivations for creating the hameau. Was it a genuine, albeit naive, yearning for a simpler life, a therapeutic escape from the crushing formality of the court she so disliked? Or was it the ultimate, tone-deaf indulgence of a frivolous woman completely and utterly detached from the reality of her kingdom? The twist irony is staggering, and it is not lost on you. As the Queen and her friends play at being shepherdesses in their sanitized, perfumed village, the real peasants of France, the ones you thought of years ago, are starving. Their harvests have failed, the price of bread is soaring, and their lives are defined by relentless, back-breaking labor, not by play-acting with clean cows and porcelain pails. The Queen's natural ideal is the most unnatural thing imaginable, a fantasy of poverty, enjoyed only by the monumentally rich. Her light, airy, floral perfume is the scent of this fatal disconnect. It is the smell of a beautiful dream, enjoyed by a few, while the country outside the gates of Versailles is slowly turning into a nightmare. Her perfume smells of flowers, but the wind from Paris is beginning to carry a different smell entirely, the metallic, smoky scent of anger. The wind from Paris grows stronger, and the metaphorical scent of anger becomes brutally, terrifyingly real. It is the smell of thousands of unwashed, hungry, and furious bodies marching on the road to Versailles. It's the smell of their sweat, their righteous rage, and the crude iron of their pikes. It's the smell of gunpowder from stolen muskets and the smoke of burning customs houses. The delicate floral bubble you have lived in your entire life doesn't just leak, it bursts. The gates are breached, the palace is stormed, and you and the entire royal court are forced into carriages and taken to Paris, prisoners of the revolution. Your world is turned upside down. The perfumed fortress of Versailles is abandoned, left to gather dust. You are now immersed in the very sensory world you spent a lifetime and a fortune trying to keep at bay. The dominant smells of your life are no longer rose and orange blossom. They are the smells of the city and the revolution, the stench of the overflowing Seine, the smoke from countless wood fires, the metallic tang of fear in the air, and the overwhelming sour-sweet smell of the crowd, the mob, the newly empowered people. In this new reality, your perfume becomes a liability. Your carefully curated scent, once a symbol of your status and refinement, is now a political statement, an olfactory betrayal. To smell of expensive flowers is to smell like the enemy. It marks you as an aristocrat, an aristo, a parasite. The revolutionaries, the sans-culottes, so named because they wear the practical long trousers of the working man, not the silk knee breeches, culottes of the nobility, define themselves by what they are not. They are not you. They reject your clothes, your titles, your powdered wigs, and your fragrances. A kind of revolutionary austerity takes hold. To be a good citizen, a patriot, is to be simple, to be plain. An honest layer of grime, the smell of honest sweat, becomes a badge of honor, a sign that you are a worker, a true son of the Republic, not a perfumed drone. Being too clean, too well-groomed, and especially too fragrant is to be suspect. It makes you a muscadin, a derogatory term for an effeminate dandy, a throwback to the corrupt old ways. For decades, your greatest social fear was attending a ball and discovering a rival was wearing the same perfume. Now your greatest fear is that a neighbor will denounce you to the Committee of Public Safety because they caught a whiff of tuberose coming from your rooms. The perfume industry, once buoyed by the insatiable demands of the court, is thrown into chaos. The Queen's perfumer, Jean-Louis Fargeon, is imprisoned for his association with the now reviled Marie Antoinette. Other perfumers, desperate to survive, pivot with shocking opportunism. In the midst of the reign of terror, as the guillotine's blade falls daily in the public squares, a new ghoulish perfume appears for sale. It is called, unbelievably, Parfum à la Guillotine. It's the ultimate in revolutionary branding, a scent for the new bloodthirsty age. What could it possibly smell like? You shudder to think. Perhaps a sharp metallic note, a woody scent of pine from the scaffold, and an undercurrent of sheer panic. Historians still debate the true nature of the muscadins, the elegantly dressed young men who would later oppose the most radical Jacobins. Were they genuine political counter-revolutionaries, or were they simply dandies, young people reacting against the forced austerity of the terror through fashion? They defiantly wore elaborate clothes and soaked themselves in the old, heavy musk perfumes, using fragrance as a form of protest, a political statement against the new, drab and dangerous world. But that is a small rebellion. The main tide has turned completely. The link between perfume and power has been violently severed. The delicate floral scent of the Queen's fantasy world is drowned out by the roar of the crowd and the thud of the blade. The entire social and aesthetic system that you have navigated your whole life, the dry clean with linen, the powders, the public toilette, the poisonous cosmetics, the status games of neroli versus jasmine, has been guillotined along with your king and queen. The old world has been washed away in a tide of blood and anger, and you are left a ghost from a dead era, wondering what, if anything, will come next. When the terror subsides, what will a person do to feel clean in this new frightening world? Somehow you survive. You are a ghost of another age, a relic of a world that was burned away. You keep your head down, literally and figuratively, shedding your title and your perfumed powders, melting into the grey backdrop of the new France. The years of terror recede, bloody and traumatic, replaced by a new, ruthlessly efficient order under an ambitious Corsican general named Napoleon Bonaparte. He becomes first consul, then emperor. The world is irrevocably different. The air is different. And slowly, cautiously, the very thing that was considered dangerous and foolish for most of your life begins to make a comeback: the bathtub. The change in attitude starts at the top. Napoleon, the new ruler of France, is a man of immense energy, discipline and ambition. He models his empire on ancient Rome and his personal habits on a soldier's need for efficiency, and he is a fanatic for bathing. You hear the stories that he spends hours in a steaming hot bath, reading reports and dictating letters. He sees it not as a weakness that opens the pores to disease, but as a restorative therapeutic practice that clears his mind for conquering Europe. Just as the habits of Louis XIV dictated the court's fear of water, the habits of Napoleon begin to instill a new faith in it. With this new love for water comes a new kind of scent. Napoleon despises the heavy, cloying perfumes of the Ancien Regime. He associates them with the lazy, decadent aristocracy he has replaced. His preference is for something light, fresh, invigorating, and clean-smelling. His absolute obsession is a new creation that isn't even truly French. It is eau de Cologne, a water from Cologne, created in that German city by an Italian perfumer named Jean-Marie Farina. This eau de Cologne is a revolution in a bottle. It's not a heavy, oil-based perfume, but a light, alcohol-based spirit, infused, with a bracing mix of citrus oils, lemon, bergamot, orange, along with rosemary and lavender. It is promoted not as a seductive perfume, but as a miracle water, a health tonic. You are meant to rub it on your skin, add it to your bath, drop it on a sugar cube to sweeten your breath, and even drink it diluted as a cordial. It is the scent of hygiene, of vitality, of modernity. And Napoleon is its biggest devotee. He reportedly goes through dozens of bottles a month. He has a special flask designed to fit into his military boots. He doesn't just dab it on, he sponges himself with it, pours it over his head, and uses it with an obsessive passion that rivals Louis XIV's old addiction to musk. He used it like a modern teenager discovers body spray for the first time, except his was a revolutionary health tonic, and he was busy redrawing the map of the world. Historians still debate Napoleon's true motivations for his extreme hygiene habits. Was it a genuine belief in its health benefits, a soldier's need for discipline and order, a calculated political rejection of the Ancien Regime's dry, clean customs, or simply a deep personal obsession with the invigorating scent of cologne? Whatever Napoleon's reasons, his habits align with a much larger, slower revolution that is happening in the world of science. Throughout the new 19th century, the old miasma theory, the fear of bad air that dominated your entire life, is finally beginning to crumble under the weight of new discoveries. While true germ theory is still decades away, scientists are starting to understand contagion and the importance of sanitation. The city of Paris itself is slowly being cleaned up, its sewers improved. Water is gradually being rehabilitated. It is no longer the enemy. It is an agent of cleanliness and health. And so a new status symbol is born among the wealthy bourgeois class that has risen to prominence in Napoleon's wake. It is no longer the public toilette with an audience of your rivals. The new mark of being modern, successful, and scientific is the private bathroom, a dedicated room in your house with a metal tub and, if you are truly rich, its own plumbing. In 1780, you impressed people by having an audience watch you not bathe. In 1810, you impress them by having a private room where you can actually wash. It is the ultimate sign of progress. You, in your quiet, anonymous old age, witness this transformation with a sense of profound irony. The fundamental truth of your youth, that water is dangerous and perfume is safety, has been completely inverted. The world is now full of people splashing in tubs and rubbing themselves with citrus-scented alcohol. Yet, you notice that the love of fragrance has not died. It has simply changed. The perfumers who survived the revolution are finding new customers. The French obsession with smelling beautiful has survived the guillotine. It has just put on a new, cleaner face. Your story ends here, in the quiet dawn of a new century. You are a silent witness to the death of one world and the birth of another, a human bridge between the age of kings and the age of citizens. You fade from history, a ghost scented with the memory of Nerolian revolution. But the legacy of the world you knew, its obsessive, decadent, and deeply artistic love affair with fragrance, is only just beginning to blossom in new and unexpected ways. The French love for perfume, as you suspected, did not die with the monarchy. It simply found new patrons. The newly wealthy bourgeoisie of the 19th century, eager to adopt the trappings of the aristocracy, became the new market for luxury scents. This era sees the birth of the great perfume houses, names that still echo today. In 1828, Pierre-François Pascal Guerlain opens a shop in Paris. He is not just an artisan serving a single court. He is an entrepreneur building a brand. He creates custom fragrances for the new royalty of Europe, like Queen Victoria of England and Empress Eugénie of France, wife of Napoleon III. The expertise developed in Grasse, once dedicated to supplying the whims of Versailles, now fuels a global industry. France becomes and remains the undisputed center of the perfume universe. But the biggest revolution is a scientific one, a change that would seem like black magic to the Gantier parfumeur you visited so long ago. In the late 19th century, chemists learned to synthesize fragrance molecules in a laboratory. They are no longer limited by what they can grow in a field or harvest from an animal. They can create smells that have never existed in nature. In 1876, chemists synthesized coumarin, a molecule that smells of freshly mown hay and almonds. A decade later, they master vanillin, creating the scent of vanilla from a source far cheaper than the vanilla bean. This is a cataclysmic event for perfumery. It's like the moment musicians got access to synthesizers. Suddenly, the palette of notes is infinite. These new synthetic molecules democratize perfume, making it more affordable for the masses, but they also elevate it to a new art form. The most talented perfumers begin blending the traditional precious natural oils from Grasse with these new modern synthetic notes. The result is the birth of modern perfumery. Our scent like Guerlain's Jicky, launched in 1889, combines natural lavender and citrus with synthetic coumarin and vanillin. It is abstract, complex, and surprising. Historians still debate what constitutes the first modern perfume. Was it Jicky with its groundbreaking use of synthetics? Or was it an earlier creation that simply captured the spirit of its time perfectly? The truth is, modernity is a constantly moving target, in fragrance as in everything else. But it is this blend of nature and science, of tradition and innovation, that defines the French perfume legacy. And the echoes of your world are everywhere, hidden in plain sight on our own bathroom shelves. That impulse to choose a scent that projects a certain image of power, of sophistication, of clean simplicity, that's the ghost of Louis XIV and his courtiers, playing their status games in the Hall of Mirrors. The fresh, clean, citrusy scents we associate with hygiene and energy? That's the legacy of Napoleon and his love for eau de cologne, the endless aisles of romantic floral perfumes. They are the direct descendants of Marie Antoinette's fragrant rebellion against the formality of the court. Even the language we use is inherited from your time. The very term eau de toilette on a bottle is a direct link to your past. It literally means toilet water, not water from a commode, but the original scented water used for the dry, non-bathing grooming ritual, the toilette, that you practiced every morning. So yes, when you spray on an expensive eau de toilette, you are, in a very real sense, performing a modern version of a dry clean, just like a French duke who was terrified of taking a bath. The world of royal France, with its perfumed fountains and poisoned cosmetics, is long gone. But its spirit remains, captured in liquid form. Every time you seek out a signature scent, you are channeling the desire for a unique identity that obsessed kings and queens. Every time you smell a fine French perfume, you are smelling the sun-drenched fields of Grasse, the secret art of the Parisian perfumer, and the long, strange, and dramatic history that turned a simple flower into a symbol of an entire nation. The court is gone, but we all live in its fragrant shadow. The world you've been visiting tonight seems so distant, a fairy tale of impossible extravagance and bizarre beliefs. The powdered wigs, the public dressing ceremonies, the fear of a simple bath, it all feels like a dream. But the threads that connect that world to ours are stronger than you might think. The human desire to be attractive, to project status, to feel clean and safe, to mask our insecurities behind a beautiful facade. That hasn't changed at all. We've just swapped lead powder for foundation and civet musk for synthetic molecules. So let the story of the French court dissolve now. Let the images of Versailles fade like perfume on the air. The golden halls grow dim, the rustle of silk grows quiet. The scent of orange blossoms gives way to the gentle, neutral scent of your own quiet room. There are no more dukes to impress, no queens to judge your choices. There is only the soft weight of your blanket, the gentle hum of the fan, and the stillness of the night. Your only task now is to let go of the day, to release your thoughts and to allow your breathing to slow down, becoming deeper and calmer. Let the rhythm of your breath be the only thing you notice as it gently carries you away from stories and into the peaceful, silent world of sleep. The journey is over. It's time to rest.